Welcome to the No Budget Indie Filmcast, where we dip into the independent film universe to highlight those little films that you might not have heard about elsewhere. Will you agree with our panel? Or will our panel agree with each other? Tune in to find out. I am Milo Dennison, and with me, as always, is my most excellent co-host, Claire Milan.
Hello.
And our other excellent co-host, Cathal Feeney.
Hello.
All right, Cathal, what are we watching this week?
This week we are watching a film called A Glimpse. It's a short film. It is directed by Tom Turner, written by Samuel Berrill, Tom Turner, starring Chris Overton and Rachel Shenton. And some people might recognize the name Rachel Shenton, because she is the actor from another film we reviewed called The Silent Child. And I think both myself and Claire regularly refer to her as Rachel Shelton, but it is Shenton. So this film is it's about a couple who meet in a cafe. At the beginning, they're not a couple; they're just two random people, and they end up sitting at the same table, and then they start talking, and the conversation becomes sort of a chat up by the guy. And as they're doing that, very quickly the images on the screen change, and you see their relationship depicted in a sort of a series of montages as it fast forwards through their relationship into the future over the next, maybe, I don't know, year or so. But the conversation stays in real time, and it goes through the different stages of the relationship. And I suppose I should say, spoiler alert once again, that the sort of the thrill at the beginning, and then the satisfaction of being involved in the relationship, and then the breakup, and all the time the conversation is going on, and this little to and fro, little banter, and then he's trying to break through her defenses and everything like that. So it's very well done, very clever. I also found it was kind of challenging in a way, because you're listening to some dialogue and you're watching something at the same time, which are not related to each other, and that can be distracting, because each scene tells a story, and you're trying to understand, get the subtle messaging from the scene, but also at the same time there's this constant dialogue going on that you're trying to concentrate on too. So and I think actually that makes it better, because it doesn't make any allowances for the audience. It doesn't try to dumb it down for you. It's throwing a lot at you at the same time, and I think that's a bit. It ultimately makes it a little bit more rewarding. But yeah, it was a clever idea, well executed.
Yeah, I think it's a really clever film. I really enjoyed it, and I could see how distracting they were talking, and then the images, and you didn't know where they were going. But in a really weird way, there was kind of a satisfaction in that, because it's like a sliding doors moment that when they meet, like, if this relationship goes on, what will happen. I think that it's a fascinating narrative device. And it was a very, the way some of these films you watch, they're not very satisfying. You're kind of missing something. But this was like a really satisfying film. And an interesting fact, these two are married in real life. So the couple are actually married in real life. And I think they're producing partners. I think he co-produced Silent Child as well. That they won an Oscar for. It's funny, yeah, it's Rachel Shenton. I think there's a Rachel Skelton as well, which is kind of another celebrity. I think she could be a weather person or an actress or something. So yeah, it's Rachel Shenton. So apologies, not Rachel Skelton.
Shelton?
Sorry, it's Shenton, isn't it? Rachel Shenton.
Yeah, but I think not Shelton.
She actually looks like Cheryl Cole, doesn't she? Or Cheryl.
Sheryl Crow.
Let's throw lots of names into the mix here.
Yeah, throw some more names in there. Who else does she look like?
But she looks like, doesn't she? From Girls Aloud, she always looks very similar. Every time I see this actress, I think of Cheryl Cole. But yeah, really enjoyed this film. It's a fascinating narrative device, and it just shows you how little things, just meeting someone just in a cafe, a little tiny thing of plugging in your charger, and all of a sudden that could lead one path, and or if you decide not to sit beside someone or meet someone, how we can lead to another path. It's sliding doors moments, and I love those films, the sliding doors films, where it shows two different alternative realities that could possibly happen. Yeah, I really loved this film, and she's a terrific actress as well, and yeah, really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm with you both on this. It was really nicely done. And the fact that they were able to get so much story in such a short period of time through this method of storytelling, right? You just getting that voiceover of the conversation that they introduced at the end, and then you get their entire life story in 10 minutes roughly. And it's so well done. And yeah, you do get distracted as to which one you're paying attention to, of like, okay, am I paying attention to the story on the screen that I'm watching, or am I paying attention to what? And you're like, okay, no, I need to pay attention to this. And it makes you want to go back and watch it again, but not in an irritated way where like sometimes you might be like, damn it, I need to go watch this again because now I got to figure out what's going on. But because you're like, it's so well done that you actually don't mind going and watching it again to see like maybe what you missed the first time around because you might have been paying attention to something else. And the fact that they were able to like, carry that story along visually with the emotional impact of the relationship as it went through its up and downs and stuff was really nicely done as well. So it is a really brilliant idea in the way they did this film. Obviously, great filmmakers. I mean, The Silent Child was, as we've reviewed in the past, was really well done, and another one really well done film here.
And you kind of you feel very like heartbroken for them, like you're taken along in this massive journey, and you're so invested in it, and that's fascinating because a film like this could be twice the length because that might do one narrative first and then the next narrative, but the fact they're parallel is fascinating in 10 minutes. And with the way it's written and the way that it's acted, you're so invested in the story, and that's not an easy thing to do. And you're rooting for them, and yeah, I just found that absolutely, it's a fascinating device, and I didn't expect to be so involved in the story and so emotionally attached to both their lives in such a short space of time.
Like it's very dense. It's a very dense film. There's just so much happening, so much to absorb. It's like, in some ways, it's like a 90-minute feature condensed in 10 minutes. And you could you could actually watch it with the sound down. And try and figure out for Ethan what's going on there. I mean, for instance, there was one scene where they were, I think they were with her parents, and you just having this conversation. You know what, you can't even say. Maybe if you could lip read, you would be able, you'd know. But he says something, and it annoys her, and it kind of spoils the atmosphere suddenly, but that's like a story within a story, just in and of itself. Like obviously they put a lot of thought into every scene. They created a story for each scene. I'm sure they must have.
I'd say the amount of work
that gave it a sense of realism.
Absolutely. I'd say the amount of work that went into this was a lot. I'd say there's a lot of footage left out because this the type of storytelling it is. You'd have to film a lot and then get the bits that would work in the edit, I'd say. And so it's fascinating, and I really admire the filmmakers.
Yeah, and with all the little stories in there, they did leave a lot out, but it was not in an irritating way. Like sometimes when you in the filming, you're like, they didn't answer that for me. I don't like that. In this, it was okay because it kind of worked with the narrative. Like they had the bit where there's somebody else's child, and then there's like a bit between them. So clearly there's like a disagreement on like children kind of thing, but they don't really answer, you can't tell what that full on disagreement is, but it's okay. Cause like that relationship disagreement, or like the work thing, she's clearly works a lot and he doesn't. And like, so the conflict there, but how does that play out? And because they have the dialogue bit where he's like, well, I did this, but now I'm just kind of living life kind of thing. So does he continue to do that throughout the relationship? And that's part of what the conflict is. And so they have all these little bits in there. And like you mentioned with the dinner scene is like, what did he say that caused this moment between them. You don't get the answer to it, but you don't need it, because anyone who's been in a relationship knows these things happen at various points where, like, you might be somewhere and somebody says something and just kind of brings the whole mood down. So it helps the watcher kind of relate to each of these situations at various point in time without actually giving you all the information.
So you were talking about the careers, and I found that an interesting subtext as well, because she talks about being an accountant or something like that, and he's this sort of dreamer. He wants to do something creative, and when you think about it, it's the antithesis of what they are in their real lives. Well,
Yeah.
for her, like she is like, they are both creatives, and it in the film, she's the one, the successful one. She seems to be the one that's got her head screwed on, and he just turns out to be a bit of a layabout. You know, he was with his heated up dinners and playing video games, and yeah. So I'm sure that might have been part of the sort of that contributed to the breakdown in their relationship. But it's I always whenever there's that sort of commentary in a film, I'm always thinking that the people behind it, you know, making the film, you know, that they are actors, they are creatives, but yet they're criticizing that sort of creative dream of this character, you know.
Pulling from their lives and stuff, and as well. So what aspects are personal to them in that? Yeah, it's good. Anything else?
Well,
I'd say this
as an addendum to that. I mean, maybe you know, that's not the message you should take. You know, maybe it's the fact that it's hard work. It takes hard work. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely a message in here, and even at the end, when it seems like, when we've seen the life, and there's like left this question of, like, they jump back to the beginning, and then what's he gonna do? And it kind of leaves you up like, well, if in some way he saw that was their future, does he then decide not to go that route, or does he decide to do it anyways, knowing, you know, that the potential ups and downs of it and stuff? So which was even an interesting way to end it, leaving it open.
Absolutely. And it just shows you how satisfying a short film can be. Rather, you know, that doesn't give it all, like, doesn't have so much exposition, but has enough information that leaves you satisfied. And this is a really great example of that, compared to some short films where you're kind of missing something, or there's something just not right. But with this, you're like, oh, that's just amazing story, and you could watch it twice or three times.
Yeah,
which is it's rare enough to think that of a short film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. I mean, I've complained about this on films in the past, of like, they leave you like with unanswered questions, and it's annoying. But this one, it works, and this is a prime example of how to do it in a way that makes it work. All right, Claire, you want to go first with the rating then, or you want me to go?
So for me, I thought the narrative device they use is terrific. The parallel narrative, and the acting was terrific. The story, it left me really kind of satisfied in the end. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to give it 5 stars, because I just loved it so much. I thought it was terrific, and I was emotionally invested in it as well. I loved it. Really, really loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. It was shot beautifully. The story's great. It's great written. There is no faults in it that I can come up with. So I'm going to go 5 stars as well.
Okay.
Pressure's on, Cahill.
Yeah.
6 stars. No, I agree with you both. As I said at the beginning, it's a very simple idea, but it was just done so well. And they didn't take any shortcuts with it. They really they put a lot of thought into it, into each of the scenes. You know, so I'll give it 5 stars. Yeah.
Ooh, well, there you have it. No Budget Audience, a rare 5 stars across the board from the team at No Budget. Let us know what you think of this film. Check it out. You can leave us a comment on one of our social media channels, which is at No Budget Show on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. Or, of course, leave a comment if you're watching this video on YouTube. And with that, I guess we'll say see you next time and goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.